Welcome to Speaking Holistically, the podcast that explores the power of alternative medicine, natural healing, and homeopathic solutions to help you achieve true wellness. Each week, Dr. Jen and Amy G dive into the world of holistic health, discussing researched, time-tested remedies with expert insights from Dr. Jen, as well as real-life stories from patients to empower you to take charge of your health. So if you're ready to embrace a more natural path to wellness, let's start speaking holistically, because true healing begins from within. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Speaking Holistically. I'm your co-host, Amy G. I'm here with my amazing co-host, Dr. Jen, and we're doing a common health concerns episode today about allergies.
Yep. So a lot of people think they have an antihistamine deficiency. And it's kind of true, but not in the way that you think it is. So people take antihistamines every day because they have, quote, allergies. And really, you only have allergies when you have a liver that can't be functioning up to par. And the next thing I hear is, but all my liver enzymes are fine. And I'm like, I get that. So you're not dying of something that has been giving you altered liver enzymes. So yeah, if your liver enzymes are super high, there's obviously an issue, but you can actually have subclinical liver issues without having super high enzymes, which I don't know if we've talked about in some of the other like labs and stuff, but alkaline phosphatase is a lab for liver function for a liver enzyme. So is AST and so is ALT. So when I look at labs, I rarely see those over the amount that is the range which would be considered normal. But I do look at them that if the AST is higher than ALT, then that tells me there is some hepatitis, there is some liver inflammation. Doesn't mean you have hepatitis A or B or C, you're not going to die from it. But it just lets me know that, okay, there's a problem. So let's look at that before we have a mess, we have a mess we have to clean up. So allergies basically is that the immune system gets challenged, mast cells get activated. And I don't think many people even knew what mast cells were until mast cell activation syndrome started to pop up around the time that COVID and the COVID vaccine did. Basically, mast cells create inflammatory or histamine reaction, basically to protect the body, to let you know, hey, there's a problem. We've got to get blood to this area to fix it. But it can be super uncomfortable. So the liver is really responsible for a lot of this. And it just means that the liver isn't functioning up to par. So instead of waiting until those numbers are out of control or you've got another health issue going on, it just lets us know that, okay, so let's support the liver a little bit more. It's struggling a little bit. There's 4 different types of receptors for histamine. So the first one is H1. And that's the one that gives you like itchy skin, fast heartbeat or tachycardia, vasodilation, which means the blood vessels expand. So when the blood vessels expand, your blood pressure tends to go down. And then the heart rate has to go up to keep the pressure proper. So there's a lot of people that ended up with POTS or positional orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So they stand up quickly, and then they feel like they're going to pass out and their heart rate goes through the roof because the blood pressure tanks. Once the blood pressure goes down, the heart rate has to come up to try to keep it balanced. So it's an inverse relationship. So they're given different types of meds, but a lot of times it's the liver having that histamine type reaction to something. So we've got to figure out what that is. The other thing I found that there is some adrenal issues related to that, usually with low blood pressure. I use a product from Standard Process called Drenamine. And it's the only thing I know that helps with low blood pressure, as well as adding some Himalayan salt to water and maybe some extra potassium gluconate. So we can get into that later because that's not what this episode is about, but I figured I'd just throw that out there. So the H1 receptors also deal with flushing. Your skin can get super red, your airways get narrowed, you can have some pain, nasal congestion, and runny nose. So there's the H2 receptors, which deal with the stomach acid secretion. So it's interesting because if I know my liver's already challenged, let's say the pollens are blowing outside and everyone else is dying and taking all of their pharmaceuticals for, their allergies that they're just, destined to have, then what happens is if I have one bite, like if my husband's eating a cookie in the kitchen, I'm like, oh, that sounds good. And I'll take a bite of his. Instantly, I start sneezing, my nose starts running, and I get a complete histamine reaction. So I don't tend to eat sugar just because my body reacts to it super, super fast.
Wow.
So it's good. I mean, it's good for me because I was like, I don't feel like this. But that's partially because of those H2 receptors, because it increases the stomach acid concentration or secretion, headaches and tachycardia, and also the narrowing of airways. And then you've got the H3 receptors, which deal with the blood-brain barrier. and it deals with the histamine and the neurotransmitters. So like norepinephrine, dopamine, acetylcholine. So that can impact your brain, how your brain functions. So these people who are having a histamine reaction to something that they're eating, something they're putting on their skin, maybe a pharmaceutical, maybe a supplement, but then they're taking other things, or they have to take a Benadryl, or they have to take some other antihistamine or whatever, but that's going to impact their neurotransmitters. So that's going to impact their brain, how they feel. Are they depressed? And now something else comes into play, right? So we have to be careful with figuring out, like, is that really what's causing it? Is that the cause or the effect?
Yeah.
And then there's the H4 receptors, and that plays a role with bone marrow and a role with inflammatory processes, also autoimmune type issues as well. So those are H4 receptors. So things like eczema, contact dermatitis, allergic rhinitis, which is basically a runny nose, allergic asthma, and allergic conjunctivitis, which you have talked about before.
Yeah.
So that is the H4 receptor. So I find if we support the liver enough with the right process or products or enough water and enough, making sure our body is functioning as highly as it can, as optimally as it can, then you don't have allergies. So living in Tennessee, we are, I think, state number 7 with the highest amount of allergies here. And people are like, oh, it's allergy season again. And I was like, not really. And I would say at this point, probably half of my patients no longer have allergies, or at least not to the same extent. They might have a day or two of it versus 3 months of it, as the Bradford pears do their stupid pollinating and kills everybody, that sort of a thing. An invasive species that was planted here that should not have been. But if you can support your liver, so especially during pollination, I am eating 0 sugar, drinking 0 alcohol, taking a ton of liver support, drinking tons of water, exercising, doing everything that I can so that I don't end up with those symptoms, because they're just miserable. So it's cheaper and easier to stay well than it is to get well. So the high level histamine reactions, basically people end up with migraines or nasal congestion, fatigue, hives, digestive issues, and even irregular periods. So the liver, because the liver has over 500 functions, one of which is it takes cholesterol and converts those basically in a super non-scientific way, but kind of converts those into hormones. So if the liver is like, dude, I am dealing with this over here, I cannot deal with the hormones. Like, you get a choice, but I can't do both. So that's kind of how that works. So there's some supplements that I use, and I use this one actually as a base. This is a supplement that we have at the office, and it's called
Spring and Fall Calm.
Spring and Fall Calm. Yep. And so this really has quercetin in it. So that's amazing for histamine reactions and supporting the liver. But it also has boswellia, nettles, N-acetylcysteine, bioflavonoids, bromelain, which is an enzyme which helps break that down. It has grapeseed extract and betaine hydrochloride. So what we talked about with those H2 receptors, that's where the betaine hydrochloride comes into play. So this really helps with all of the receptors and supporting those as a base during those challenging times in the fall and the spring, especially in Tennessee, where I didn't know there was such thing as fall allergies, but there is. So people coming in, oh, I'm dying. I'm like, okay, well, let's do this. Let's get you off all this junk that's pro-inflammatory. So literally for me, one bite of a cookie can just send me instantly over, and I'm sneezing and my nose is running and my eyes are itching, and I'm like,
God.
Yeah. But my body gives clear signals like, hey, dingbat, let's not do that again. I'm like, all right, I won't, So it's not worth it. So, but I'm also not going to take a medication that makes my liver worse in order to be eating stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So those are choices that I make for my body. Do I want high histamine reactions? No. I don't want migraines. I don't want skin issues. I don't want any of that stuff. Other people would prefer to eat their foods and do the things and have good smelling clothes with chemicals in it. And they don't realize that that stuff they're putting on their skin is getting absorbed directly into their bloodstream through their skin.
Yeah.
So I use the Spring and Fall Calm as a base, and I can use that every single day just as a normal, hey, liver, let's just keep you happy. You're driving on the interstate, breathing all the fumes from the cars in front of you. Like, your liver has to process that. I don't really wear any makeup. I don't put any lotion on my skin. I'll use tallow, but all of the things I come in contact with. I do touch patients with my bare hands on their bare skin, and I know they've put lotions and potions and perfumes and stuff all over. So I know I'm absorbing that stuff. I'm not dumb enough to not think that I'm doing that. Or you walk through a department store, all the chemicals in that department store with all the clothes, and then all of the colognes and perfumes and all of the stuff that you don't really think that you're being exposed to. You go to a restaurant and all the chemicals. If you get a salad, you don't realize they're maybe putting sulfites on that lettuce. Like, you don't realize all of the stuff you actually are coming in contact with.
Yeah.
That food tastes super good. There's some sort of flavor enhancer. Let's just be real. If it's like, oh, this is so good, it's either sugar, salt, or some sort of flavor enhancer. So supporting that liver is super, super important. And if you can do that enough, then you won't have to treat your allergy symptoms. But that being said, you have a product sitting right there, right, Amy?
I do, and I'm a huge fan. Let's see if you can see it.
Antranex.
Antranex. Yeah, you gave me this years ago when I was living in California, and I came in, and I'm not someone who deals with allergies in my day-to-day life. And so I came in and I go, yeah, it's weird. It feels like I have a cold, but it's like not like a cold. And it was when the Santa Ana winds were blowing hard and all kinds of stuff was getting kicked up in the air. And you said it's the Santa Anas. That's what's triggering this reaction. I get a ton of patients that come through the doors this time of year and say that they're having these symptoms. And so I think you told me to take, I want to say 10 of these. And you said, wait, 20 minutes or so, and like the symptoms will go away. And that's exactly what happened. And it blew my mind. So yeah, I'm a huge fan.
So, and it's interesting because that product is Yakatron and something else. There's two things in there, I believe. The calcium lactate.
Other ingredients, here we go. Calcium lactate.
Calcium lactate helps stimulate macrophages, and the macrophages are the one that comes in, like the Pac-Man cells, that come in and clean up debris from infection or inflammation.
Yeah.
So that's going to help tremendously. So one year I was here during pollination and my husband was gone and I was busy taking care of 4 kids and working and doing everything I was doing and was not taking my supplements like I should have been. And I was imbibing. And I normally don't drink, but I was having like a glass of wine every night that week. And I was like, okay, I got this, And on top of homeschooling them, by the way. So it wasn't just like, hey, I had to get them off to school. I was doing everything. And so I did. I was having a glass of wine at night and I woke up one morning and thought, oh my gosh, this is why people take drugs. I had no idea like what allergies felt like. I was like, no wonder. I got it. I finally understood.
Oh, wow.
So what happened was that instant, I was like, okay, no more alcohol whatsoever. I mean, I'm like, no, this is not worth it. This is terrible. No wonder. So, but what I did is I took 10 Antranex every 15 minutes and I got up to 8 doses. So I was up to 80 and people go, oh my gosh. But I'll tell you what else, my allergies were completely gone in, what is that, every 15 minutes or so?
Yeah.
So in 2 hours, all of my allergies were completely gone. The sky was yellow for the next 3 days and I never had to take another Antranex or anything else as far as that went. So I tell people, hit it hard, hit it fast. It basically dump that liver, get that liver cleaned out so it can handle this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. Tons of water. And some people go, well, I took 3 Antranex that didn't do anything. I'm like, you think? Like your liver's already that far gone. It would be like your boat sinking and you're taking a thimble and you're like pouring it out a little bit, or you can take a bucket and do it faster,
Yeah.
So the liver, when it gets over toxic, basically, it's like a bucket with a spigot at the bottom. And as much as that's coming in, it has to filter it out. So if too much is coming in faster than it can filter it out, then once it gets to the top and it overflows, that's where you end up with that histamine reaction. It's the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah.
So Antranex works really, really, really well. It's like a natural antihistamine, but it doesn't congest the liver. It doesn't make it worse. So when you take an antihistamine, because it's a pharmaceutical, it does have a tendency to stress out the liver even more. So then when you try to go off of it, you have a harder time because now the liver is more toxic. But it got rid of the symptoms. Okay?
Yeah.
So the other thing that I use too is Allerplex. That's another one that I use. These are capsules. It's a little bit different. It's a lot different. But I use the Antranex for more immediate need at that point. Like if you're having an anaphylactic reaction. My sister-in-law has alpha-gal. So, she takes the Antranex with her. So if she eats something that has some sort of meat in it, then she'll take it when she starts to feel it come on, and it generally will help out before she has to reach for the Benadryl. So I use Allerplex kind of as people are getting normal type allergies, but it's not to the point where, I hate the word normal, but they're getting like a little bit of allergy symptoms. They can take the Allerplex, and some people use this as a base as well, or just take it like they would Antranex. I just find that the Antranex is more of an emergency, boom, hit it and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So then this is the next question. People go, well, how do I know whether it's allergies, or how do I know whether it's a like a sinus infection? So there's also another product which I absolutely love. It's a newer product from Standard Process called Allergies. And sometimes I wake up in the morning and, there's something going on outside and I don't even know it yet. And I look outside, I'm like, oh, this is what's happening. I'll take 4 to 6 of the Allergies straight off the bat on an empty stomach, and I get similar reaction, if not the same, as taking a ton of the Antranex.
Wow.
So it's different for different people, but if you take the allergy stuff and you're taking enough of it and it doesn't seem to work, then I tell people go over to the Sinus Forte.
Oh, I haven't seen that one before.
So the Sinus Forte is more for like sinus, I don't want to say it's treating a sinus infection, but it's supporting proper mucosal functioning in the sinuses. Okay. So we don't treat anything. We just support a body. That's all we do, right?
Yeah.
So, but the Sinus Forte is great. So some people will take the Sinus Forte thinking they have a sinus infection, and it doesn't do a thing for them as far as the symptoms go. It's not going to hurt you. I mean, it's full of good herbs and stuff. But then they'll try the Allergies and they notice the difference within 15 to 20 minutes. So then they know, okay, it's allergy. Or if they're taking the Allergies or the Antranex or the Allerplex and it doesn't seem to be making a huge difference, they'll try the Sinus Forte, 4 to 6 of those, and boom, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling better 20, 30 minutes later. So that's an easy way to decide which direction to go in with that but you've got to take enough of it. Taking 1 Antranex, like I took 1, it didn't do anything. I'm like, yeah, it'd be like licking a carrot and being like, oh, I got all the vitamin A I need from my eyes. So these are whole food supplements or herbs. And so it's not going to be, you can take 500 milligrams of ibuprofen or, Tylenol or whatever, and think that it's going to have some impact because it's not the way it functions.
Well, that's the biggest, I know anybody who is watching or listening right now who knows me, if you've gone to breakfast or dinner with me, you see a bunch of supplements hit the napkin, and I'm going to take them while I'm sitting in front of you. Everybody's seen it. People love to ask me questions about it. And the one thing I tell people is you have to get it out of your head that you need to take one of this or that, because we're talking about whole food supplements. It's not the same as a pharmaceutical. And I think that's just the best tip I can give people is just get that out of your head, because you're going to be swallowing more stuff, more capsules or tablets of whole food supplements than you are a pharmaceutical. So just take that dissociation and break it, because they're completely different.
Well, and pharmaceuticals are there to force a physiological reaction. That's what they're there for. They force something. And in times of an emergency where, let's say, your leg is cut off, like you want to stop the bleeding and you need, you know what I mean? Like, and you're going for surgery and you need something for pain, like fine, but you're not going to live on fentanyl and morphine, hopefully. It's going to be a short-term thing that they give you to get through the surgical procedure. But supplements, it's there to feed your body so that it can go through and create the biochemicals that your body needs to make it. So you can decrease your pain, you can decrease your inflammation. We just talked about one way to do that. If you support your liver every day, you're going to decrease inflammation all over. So how many people are taking something that's increasing the inflammation or the histamine reaction, and that's why they have joint pain? How many people are walking around with, arthritis and thinking that they have some, just because they named it, that, oh, that's what it is. And it's like, arthritis just means joint, itis just means inflammation of, but why do you have it? Just because, oh, I have arthritis. And I'm like, that's nice, you named it, but why do you have it? Like, what can you do to get rid of it? So maybe it's a hyperhistamine reaction. Maybe it's a mast cell activation situation. Maybe your immune system has been hyperstimulated, hyperchallenged. Vaccines are there to hyperstimulate the immune system. That's what they do. They hyperstimulate it, or they stimulate it, and sometimes they hyperstimulate it. That could be that maybe you just stimulated that immune system too much, and now you've got this chronic mast cell activation syndrome issue. Maybe if you supported your liver a little bit more, maybe if you didn't eat certain foods, it wouldn't create that inflammatory response in your body. Maybe if you didn't eat sugar, like I said, I have one bite of a cookie, not even the whole cookie, just one bite. And my body lets me know that that's just way too much inflammation and too much inflammatory response in my body. So I'm not going to keep pushing that. I don't want to be miserable, but I'm also not going to go ahead and take pharmaceuticals that are going to cover up the symptoms, because really those symptoms are there. It's like the canary in the coal mine, right? And if you're not familiar with that, if you're younger than I am, go look it up. But I don't want to kill that. I want to make sure that that is there, so it warns me before I get into a disease state. So if we keep covering up those symptoms over and over and over and over, then that chronic inflammation can lead to other terrible things that I pretty much don't want to die from. So
yeah, exactly. No, this is such a good episode. Honestly, allergies are such a big problem for people, and I think so many people are reaching for Claritin or whatever. I can't even think of any other ones because I don't take any medication, but
I could tell you all of them because patients are coming and taking them daily because they have allergies. And I'm like, but you're having a histamine reaction, and maybe it's not allergies. Maybe it's yeast. Maybe you have a yeast infection in your sinuses that nobody has told you possibly existed. So if you haven't seen that episode yet, go find it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just really glad we're talking about this topic. I think it can help so many people, and just giving them the natural options, the whole food supplement options to treat the allergies or the histamine responses. So yeah, this was great. Thank you, Dr. Jen, for your wisdom and knowledge as always. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you haven't joined our school community before, I'll put the link in the show notes. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, everybody, bye-bye. That wraps up another episode of Speaking Holistically. Thank you for listening. We hope today's conversation gave you new insights and inspiration to take charge of your health. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, be sure and join the Speaking Holistically school community by clicking the link in the show notes. There, you'll get access to daily podcast episodes, weekly live Q&As, educational content, and so much more. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, be well, stay curious, and keep speaking holistically.